Very good. It's 1 minute after 10. This is a special meeting of the Old Lyme Board of Selectmen, Friday, March 25th. The first item we will be talking about is to consider selected wage increases effective July 1st, 2022. Previously, the Selectmen have received a spreadsheet detailing the information we're going to be talking about, and we have, as we know, we have the salary study which was prepared for the town, and there were certain positions that were identified which are below the peer towns, and the table lists many towns, but then there's even some schedules that detail additional towns for some of the positions. So at the Board of Finance, I discussed that there do seem to be some adjustments that would be appropriate as we approach the new fiscal year. So the conclusion was that we, the Board of Selectmen, would look at the positions, discuss them, see if there's any other items to be considered, and then if we can come up with a consensus, we can go back to the Board of Finance on Tuesday when that meeting will basically finish up the budget preparation in anticipation of the budget hearing. So the first person to be looked at is the Animal Control Officer. She has a current salary of $23.18. And so when we got the additional comparisons to her, why it appeared that we got them for a bunch of towns. I think there's a total of 13 towns when we include what's on the original sheet and the auxiliary sheet. And it came up with something towards $27. Now, there are some unusual highs and lows, but I think trying to bring this up to a better wage, I was suggesting that as opposed to making a quantum leap to a number in that range, that we could perhaps make an interim adjustment and then next year consider a second one. I might say with this position, due to the nature of the job, we have the Animal Control Officer has been working closer to almost a 30-hour schedule. Some of that related to the fact that the assistant was not certified. It was a new assistant, and she has now become certified. She devotes about 18 hours a week toward that assistant position. So the Animal Control Officer, therefore, is on call 24/7 basically, and so even though the assistant is available, she's still logging some additional hours. We had discussions about whether she might be full-time. I said, well, if you were to say full-time versus providing a budget for a second assistant to handle things in the building, such as the cleaning the kennel and all that sort of thing, I said, if you had your choice, full-time versus more hours for another assistant, because I think the current assistant really can't devote more time than she's giving. The Animal Control Officer said, I'd rather look at the full-time position. She indicated that she does not need medical insurance because her husband has good medical insurance. So she does receive a pension contribution because she's over the threshold for pension, which is lower than 30 hours. And so then beyond that, there'd be, of course, vacation that is earned based on time and grade. And I think life insurance, there's a life insurance provision. So there's some other benefits that come along with being full-time. And I might say even if somebody does not need a medical insurance, the town will compensate that person a small stipend in lieu of the insurance. So that would be something she could elect to do. So I came up with a number simply to move her above what she is now receiving. On the original sheet, there were two salaries. One was $27.89, the other one $16.83. Now the 16 is a part-time position in Old Saybrook, and it really isn't a job that would equate to our animal control officer's job. So that's when we got the sheet that detailed other positions. There are a mixture of full-time and part-time, but generally speaking, there is nothing that's in the $16, $17 range. Most of them are in the low to high 20s, and there's one that's $42.61. So that's obviously stands out as a high. So trying to come up with something that is partway there without doing too much of an increase at budget time. I threw that number in there just to start a conversation.
Mm-hmm. So you're proposing that she's going to work 30 hours per week.
I think if we were to weigh the difference between full-time and more assistant hours, I'm sure she would like both, but I don't know that we can do all of that. So I guess if we were to embrace 30 hours at the rate, then of course the consequence would be if she's been working less than 30 hours, there would be a jump in the actual overall compensation, because if it's a standard 30, she would get 30.
Right.
And she would be required to work 30, and she would do more of these functions that maybe an assistant would do. So yeah, I think it would be a 30-hour. It would be a 30-hour position at a higher rate, and
so 30 hours. The new wage that you're proposing, which is $24.22, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then also, although she'll jump to $24.22, then she'll also get the increase on this contract of 2.5, so it will be more than that.
Right, come July.
Okay.
Right.
$24.82.
Thank you so much. Okay, but then she'll only have the one assistant?
Yes.
What if her assistant, who currently is contracted for 18 hours a week, can't give those 18 hours a week? I'm saying, then is there a possibility she can hire, like, if they were going to go 9 to 9, I don't know what the strategy is, but
yeah,
it would seem to me, as much as these wages were done on population, it wasn't done on animal population, it was done on people population.
Right.
So I don't really feel that we can even use that as a part of our analysis.
Yeah.
But I do think that Lynn works incredibly long hours, and a lot of it she's not even tracking. And I think that if she needs extra help, and if her first assistant that's currently hired cannot do the 18 hours and she needs more, then I think that she should be able to hire somebody, maybe stay within a 20-hour for assistance and balance it between the two, if that's the case.
Yeah, well, I think the best solution would be you have a second assistant just for coverage. Somebody gets sick, somebody withdraws from their position, you don't have to scramble. So probably 2 assistants would enable her to not have to work quite so hard. She has been doing this job for quite a while, so I think she worked out very well. She's very diligent, and so I feel that since she is working so many hours, close to 30, that it would be an expression of appreciation on the town's part to create her as a full-time person.
I want her to go to 30. That's fine. Yeah. I don't have a problem with that. I just want to make sure that she's going to have enough assistance on the side, because someone has to be at that shelter 2 times a day for feedings and cleaning up. So I just want to and if you're doing calls, it's a lot. So I need to make sure that she's going to have people there for those animals.
Right, so the assistant right now is 18 hours a week?
Yes.
Okay. So I guess the conversation with her is if she can't give you 18 hours a week, then you get another person, you split the 18 between 2. At least it helps her, you know what I mean, right?
Right.
Well, there is another individual who has been helpful, and we don't know whether that person would welcome to be a second assistant for smaller hours.
I just want Lynn to know that it's a possibility.
Yeah.
I just want Lynn to know that we want to make sure that those hours are covered. And if she needs, if her first assistant can't cover then the 18 hours, I want her to know that we support her finding someone who can help fill the hours that her first assistant cannot.
Yeah, I think that's valid. And ultimately, the second assistant may not have to have the qualifications depending on what that person does, because in the past there have been 2 assistants, and the second person has been more oriented toward the building and keeping things on a level keel there, as opposed to going out and doing things. Now, the person she's thinking about is not certified as an animal control official, but she has worked in the field of wildlife type activity, and so she's no stranger to this type of business. So I think we could work within that. Obviously, if the first person can only work 15 hours, I don't know. I suppose somebody to do things would want to have a certain amount of hours, predictably. But so I think we could get this position straightened away and have it that if the current assistant cannot meet the 18-hour requirement, that she would certainly be able to add somebody, maybe at a slightly different rate, but at least the hours.
So
we do them all together or one at a time?
Well, I think we can just keep track. Now, I think.
But that's 30 hours. We're going to do Lynn at 30 hours at $24.82 plus a raise on July 1st.
Yes. So the extension will likely change, because I think the animal control officer has probably a certain number of hours times a rate equals the yearly amount. Mm-hmm. So if the rate is 30, it might increase it there. Now, the other thing that we need to keep in mind is that the way that there was the decision, Dave Kelsey, Chairman of the Board of Finance, and I talked about this current fiscal year ending June 30th, the contracts for the two unions are providing a 2.5%. Public Works is about to be signed. That's been a long haul. And so that's retro 2.5, and the police are in year 2, so that is 2.5. So I was talking with Dave, and I think there was some conversation at the Board of Finance about equalizing it with the non-union, because I think it would be healthy not to have a disparity when you have two unions at one rate and a town behind that's not with a contract, I think. And I think we went through the analysis, and it was, when I did the calculation, it was going to be something like $3,000 to make the adjustment for the non-union.
That's fine.
To go back. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
That was that 0.25%?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
But I don't know if the Board of Finance actually voted on that.
I think they're waiting for some final numbers.
Well, basically, you're going to go with this to them on Tuesday, so they can calculate it then.
So is that technically, is it, we have these raises we're talking about, but then is it
Another one.
2.50 plus another quarter, so it's actually 2.75?
No.
2.50.
Well, for this current year ending, the town people, actually Public Works too, but that's been known. But the non-union are being compensated 2.25. So
this current year, right?
This fiscal year. So there would be a year-end adjustment to say, okay, the 0.25% can be a payroll distribution.
So that could change these numbers then a little bit.
But if we just use it,
no,
it is. You're right.
So the current raise right now could go up 0.25% plus the raise plus the 2.5.
Right.
Technically. So they're close to the numbers, but it might just change a little bit. That's fine. No, I understand.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, actually, the 0.25 for this fiscal year is going to affect many more people than what's on this.
Exactly.
Right.
So these aren't numbers necessarily set in stone, but there could be a minor adjustment based on this quarter.
Yeah, so as we calculate next year's activity, it would be the 2.5, because we'll do the 2.5 for this fiscal year with the one-time payment. So then that'll take care of that year. So then the next year, the general wage increase will be 2.5. But any adjustments that we make and the Board of Finance approves would need to be put in first, and then the 2.5 across the board would be overlaid on top of that.
No, that makes sense.
Got it.
Okay. A little complicated.
No, that's good.
Motion is going to be might have to have 3 motions.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Now the next position is the office manager, and
No,
Cheryl.
assistant senior center.
excuse me, right, correct. As we reviewed that, it was apparent that that position is low compared to some of the peers. So the suggestion is to do, and this was also looked at by the salary committee, not the first one, but this one was. And so the discussion was that if there was a 3% adjustment to that position, it would take it from $21.86 to $22.50, and then based on...
This is a 12-hour position.
Yes. You know, that's another one, because her hours are less. That might require, Matt, another adjustment, but lower. So I'll have to redo that, because at the bottom I did everybody at 1,560, which is 30 hours.
How many hours is it?
She's at 12.
She's at 12 hours, so...
Okay, but
it would be a little less on the bottom line here with her.
Yeah, I have a problem with this salary, though. Cheryl has been with us for 4 years, and you want to move her up to $22.50 as an assistant direct to the senior center director. But we have another assistant that was hired this year at $30.45 per hour to our park and rec director. I feel this is a gross inequity between a faithful servant who has served our town for 4 years, and you're only bumping her. And I haven't seen a job description for Cheryl, and I haven't seen a job description for the Park and Rec assistant. So
yeah, there's one for that.
well, we need to see some reason, because there are, even just looking across at the senior center administrators, the average is $23.80 in the it's only 2 towns that they actually looked at for senior center administrators. There are other towns around us that do have senior center assistants that they didn't look at. And I just feel that just in our own town, I feel that's a gross inequity. You've had someone here working for 4 years for 12 hours a week, and she probably puts in more time than that, but she doesn't charge us for it. And now we have another person at $30 and came on brand new.
Right. Now, the assistant to the Park and Rec, that number was developed by, I guess, Don and Nicole. It was not a product of the study. And that has obviously raised people's eyebrows that's a pretty rich salary. So let's see, and here, the Parks and Rec, let's see, do we have that?
We just have the Park and Rec's director, that's it.
Yeah, and I think when we looked at the Park and Rec, it was, the sheet that we were provided has the director at the top, and then it has Assistant Park and Rec. Do you have that sheet?
No, not for Park and Rec. I don't have it.
Well, okay, so one of the towns, it's 26 and change.
Yeah. So we
another one, it's 23. So it's kind of foolish to have the director's salary and then compare these to that with percentages. But that aside, it would seem that the three towns in the survey for the assistant would be around 27 and something.
So how about if we take Cheryl up to a higher, at least a little bit higher amount? Because you can't take the assistant Park and Rec director down. You've already hired her.
Yeah, she might be restrained from,
Well, the position
going
is
up.
supposed to be reposted July 1st. We were supposed to repost that because that was supposed to be, we were going to get them through the spring, and then we discussed that we would post the position and open it up. And she can apply. But we still said, and the finance board said this, that it should be opened because that's the way we're really supposed to be hiring new people.
Okay.
I can find the minutes from that meeting if you'd like, but there was discussion that we have a process for hiring and we should be following it. But that we can get into. But Cheryl, I think we should bring Cheryl up to at least the average hourly rate between admins, which is $23.80. I don't know what that does to the math, Matt, but...
Well, she's only 12 hours a week, so that
12 hours.
1,030 is really, from these current numbers, is only $411 difference. So if we take it to 23.80.
23.80.
Yep. So
Now, that rate, where is that being derived from?
This sheet. So if you go across the senior center admin, the average is $23.80 between the 2 towns that they looked at.
Mm-hmm.
So at least with 4 years of experience, and she's not getting paid at what the public, I think we can afford to pay her another $400 a year for her 12 hours a week.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's put that in the mix. Now, when I talked with Stephanie about more hours, because that was suggested, Stephanie indicated that the assistant did not want to go beyond 12.
Right, I know that.
So that's a bit of a surprise, but that there's a constraint there. Okay, well, we'll put that in for now. Yep.
The new number is 1,210.
That would be her total for the year?
Yeah, so if it would be $1.94 raise times 12 times 52, it's about 1,210.
Okay.
1,210?
Yep.
Oh, 10.
And then the 2% on top of that.
Yeah, so I'll probably change this around and do the extension rather than do a 1560 because that's not going to work here.
Right.
Okay, very good. And then we'll get a different percentage in there. Okay, then the office manager. When we were talking with the consultant, that position is quite varied. You have, obviously, absent COVID, anybody that comes into the building that needs assistance will stop by that window. Now that's a window. All kinds of questions. And she handles a lot of things. One of the large deals is the pistol permits. And that is quite involved because people have to submit the application, and it's amazing how many of those are coming through the door. I would say probably a couple of hundred a year, I would say, if not more. In addition, she handles the parking passes, which number around 1,500 issued every year, and everything else. So the consensus was that this needs to be adjusted, and she's a very long-term employee and I think very effective at what she's doing there. So the conclusion of the salary committee was to give a 3% increase there, and then she would be, as would everyone, they'd get the 2.5 along with the general wage increase.
So, Matt, can you run number really quick? If she gets 28.30 and she has the 2.5%, what would it be? What would her total be next year?
I heard $29 even.
29 even?
Yep.
So you go 28.30 times a 1.025?
Yeah, that's it, yep. Yeah, it comes to $29 even.
And what? Even?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
When the consultant developed a sheet for this, there was a lot of different positions, and it was pretty difficult to...
No, there was only one.
Well, I think there was an auxiliary sheet, though, which was admin assistant, and...
She had it under office manager, I believe.
Well, the one that had this Kathy Hall written on here, but this, you see, they're called executive assistant, Selectmen secretary, so...
This salary is administrative assistant. But that was for Michelle Noren's position. Where's the...
Well, I think actually Kathy Hall is considered administrative assistant.
You mean Michelle?
Upstairs. And then executive administrative assistant, it could be that for that position.
Are we talking Michelle Hayes or are we talking Michelle Noren?
Yeah.
I think these are more Michelle Noren positions for executive, administrative, And
Yeah.
because they didn't have a senior manager.
No, not much in that regard.
Right. So these are not apples to apples with, and look at.
Well, some of the rates are, 27 and 19, so, it's...
And Michelle's been here how many years?
Oh, good 25, 26, so probably one of the longer-term people.
It's not.
So clearly, I think there would be a need to increase that. And
So to what? Are you sticking to the 2830?
That's what the salary committee came up with. And it's difficult to pick out comps in addition to what she's doing. So, but obviously the average of there's only one position here in Westbrook. So that's too small a universe.
Well, it is, but what if that person in Westbrook has only been working there 3 years and is making $29.74, and Michelle's been here, well, as long as I've lived here, I've been getting my beach sticker from Michelle, and I've been here 25 years.
That's
so.
Right. Yeah.
That's like $1. You're paying her $1 a year.
Yes. So
could we go to 29 for her? It's still under what Westbrook's paying.
Yeah, I didn't run this as a group because it's all over the lot. But
it's all.
Yeah. Now, in terms of so. I think that, I don't think you'd want to go much beyond that because then you get into the land use administrators. Some of those positions require additional certifications. I think that 29 it would be.
Well, it would be 29 after July 1st.
Well, how can we get her over 29?
Well, then the 2.5 on top of it.
I know that. So what if we go to 28.50?
We'll go with 29 because if you add the 0.25 in there.
Let's get her, let's do 28.50, and then we'll get her over 29.
Well, all the boats are going to rise.
So. I know that. That's what we're saying. I just want to get her, bounce her over a little bit more over 29. So what would 28.50 get her over? $29.21. Think we can go to 28.50, which will get her to 29.21. She's still underneath everybody else. She's been here the longest.
Yeah. The administrator up in building is below that, but
how long has she been here?
Long time.
Longer than she.
Close. I'm not sure which has more. That position's a bit more dedicated to building and some emergency management. It's not quite the diversity of things as downstairs. That's any and all things. Well, we could look at 28.75, which would put it in a...
Well, she said 28.50.
I said 28.50.
28.50 for the new wage. And then
the new wage, and then she'll get the 2.5 on top, which will take her to 29.21. Right?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
The next is the Senior Manager Administration. As that discussion went forward, there was recognition that she is involved in the website and in a number of other projects that are in addition to the Selectmen's, helping me out. Mm-hmm. For instance, she found that the onboard system for the boards and commissions, which I think has been a vast improvement.
I have no problem with that.
Nope.
We can move on.
Nope.
Okay. The payroll AP administration, I think when this was looked at on the sheet here, it talks about payroll administration, but there's also the account payable aspect to it, which some towns you just handle payroll. But and we do checks twice a month, and I think you've seen the check folder. You see the sheets. It's a lot, and
summer it gets even worse because you have all the part-time summer employees.
Yeah, you have to sign them up, take them off.
Yeah, it gets a little.
17 weeks. So
Right.
Almost half your.
Yeah. I personally think it's a little low.
Because
I'm in just as personal experience. At Deep River where I work, as they call it accounts manager lady, who's my boss technically. She's $35.96, and they pay me $30 an hour to be her assistant. So, I mean, it's a fair number. But I mean that I think is personally a little. She does a lot.
she also
And whatever else Nicole asks her to do.
She handles all FMLA leave, health issues, health benefits.
Yeah.
I mean, she's not just a payroll administrator, so I think it was
Right.
looked at, and I'm pretty sure her job description reads that she handles more than just payroll.
Right. Yeah, payroll.
So, Matt, are you suggesting 30?
Yeah, a bump to 30, and then
And then a
2.5
Yep.
2.5 on top of that, I think is more than fair.
I agree with that.
As we know, some stuff that benefits part of a loan can be a nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because some of these communities that we have examples for, New Britain and Colchester, they're obviously larger communities, but Deep River is certainly not.
Well, Tim, I think too that a lot of this is based on, for something like that, it's not really your population that you should be comparing. It should be how many employees does the town have? If you're the payroll administrator, how many are you handling? That's really what you should have been looking at, because that's apples to apples. The population of the town has nothing to do with the payroll.
Well, there's a correlation. I mean, if you have a 20,000 population town versus a 10, you're going to have more employees likely. So we have a lot of seasonality, so I think effectively we have more than 7,500 when you add all the summer stuff.
Okay. So
I imagine Park and Rec is true in most every community. Some communities have more unions, which would make it more challenging from that standpoint too. But
right. Okay. So are you good with 30? Bumping her to 30?
I think, given what we've heard with surrounding compensation, that's making a big stride toward where she
should be.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving.
Then the tax clerk, I believe the tax clerk has finished the step increases, the 6-year step increases, which means I believe she must have come in at a higher step than the first step when she was employed. Because that system obviously gives people 6 years of increases that are above and beyond the general wage. She has very good computer skills, and so I think she's been a very helpful add to that department. And
I'm good.
Yeah, because if you take that plus the 2.5, it'll bring her right to the average, which I think is fair.
Perfect.
okay.
And transfer station?
Transfer station, that has some backup, and when I looked at that, the ad, we have North Stonington is a new ad, $29.79. So I think that he supervises that whole operation, and it's more complicated than just weighing trucks and keeping track. You got to handle all the activity, and weekends and certain days are very, very busy. Other times it's pretty slow, but there's a lot of paperwork reporting back to the financial side of the shop. So, and then he has one subordinate on the loading machine, but he has to be aware of all he has to work the oil recycling, the mattresses, the tires, the Freon.
We know. Matt and I are there on the weekends. We're there. We are those people that go to the transfer station.
Yeah.
But, Matt, are you in agreement with that?
Yeah, because again, it brings him close to the average after, he'll be at 29.21 after July 1st.
Okay. And the only thing I would say is that we're going to have to be, next year, we're going to have to look carefully at this, because with inflation coming out, we're going to have to do some type of our own analysis. We don't need to go out to thing, but we are really going to have to look at what other towns do to, because we don't want to see our employees leaving for other towns that give people raises. Okay, so how do we want to phrase this motion?
Well, I want to make mention of one more thing, and I had quite an extensive conversation with the senior center director, and because of the lower age for eligibility at 55, COVID obviously has changed the game. This whole building program, she is attending meetings at both towns, boards of selectmen, boards of finance, and so we talked about how could she offload some of the busy work. I said, I see these invoices coming through from the senior center for, let's call it functions, where they will go and buy stuff just for like a recognition of this or that other thing. And I said, you've got to use Amazon and that sort of thing, where you can get these things ordered and not have to drive to Costco or wherever to buy stuff, and then oftentimes pay sales tax because we don't have an account with them. So she said she's doing more in the vein of ordering that way, which will save time and mileage and so forth. There are seniors who would be willing to help do some of these things, to go out and shop. She indicated that it would be very helpful to have a petty cash, so that if somebody went to buy a cake, for instance, they could take cash from petty cash, and then it could get restored back to the petty cash. I guess there was some resistance from the finance department about petty cash, but it's a little awkward to have volunteers have to pay it themselves and then get reimbursed. That's a little bit beyond the scope of it, perhaps. So I think if we brainstorm, we could help her out a little bit on that score. She, because of the increased activity, more members, I even said, gee, at $5 a membership, that should be revisited, because you can barely buy a gallon of gas nowadays for $5, and that's a yearly membership. Certainly, there are individuals who might have trouble coming up with, say, $25 or something, but I'm sure a lot of members would have no problem doing that. Now, the town is more or less responsible, or the towns are responsible for the building. The senior center board, which collects the dues and charges for the program, they take in the money, and there are donations for sure. So the towns are not necessarily supporting the program aspect of the senior center. But obviously it's been pretty consistent paying for heat, light, power, renovations, all that sort of thing. So she's quite busy. She is being increased to 35 hours, as we heard at the Board of Finance. So that will create some help there. The assistant, as we know, is not wanting to add hours, so that's not going to be much help. So now she's logging more than 30 hours and developing comp time and that sort of thing, so she sees a collision at the end of the year. And
she's got over 80 hours. She's got 84 hours to spend before July 1st.
With vacation and all
vacation and comp time.
Yeah.
I think it's...
Right, and so...
But let's just talk about her salary. I mean, she is basically a one-woman show. I don't know, does Deep River have a senior center?
No.
No, they don't. So.
Tri-Town does stuff, but no.
But if you look at some of the other area senior centers, they have a programming director. May not be full-time, but they have a programming director who does the scheduling, does all the hires, gets all the people to come in and lead all the different things. Steph's doing that. And she's also doing the management of the entire senior center.
Yep.
I know that bumping her to $35 35 hours raises her salary, but where does it get her on her salary?
$8,200 increase plus the 49, so she's at about 58, 57.
So what is she now?
She's at 49,202.
And if she goes to 35 at her base rate now, what does she get to?
Adding those together right now.
16% better.
57.4.
Right, but she's working
Right, she's working more hours.
Working more hours for it. It's not like she's getting a raise. She's just getting more hours. So what would her hourly be? What's her hourly now?
Hourly's $31.54.
And she's been here how many years?
Probably 6 or 7, maybe.
$31.54.
You go down to the senior center, the various towns, and
if you look at the towns that have 35 people who have 35 hours a week, Columbia, Westbrook, Easton's kind of high, but
Easton's go.
Yeah. Okay.
Go.
Yeah.
Okay. We know.
But
Hebron's certainly not golden.
No.
And that person's getting 35. This is the hard part too, because
right.
We're not looking. Some of these people could be on, could have 25 years of experience.
Right.
And that's an unknown in this case, and that's where this is a little flawed. But
I think that number that she's at now, 57.4, is definitely in that range of those other towns that have 35 besides Easton. She's kind of like right in the middle. There's 167. One is 45.5, and the other one's 53.9. So if you did all three of those, it got up to an average.
What would her new pay rate? Can you give it to me again, Matt?
Her new pay rate or total pay?
Total pay at 31.50. Well,
yeah.
Current pay is 31.50.
Yeah, 57,400.
Is that now, or is that?
That's what we increased to 35 hours.
Okay, and then she'd get the 2.5.
Yep. She's what, 31.87, 31, what? She 31.54.
Right.
So she'd go to 32.32.
32.33.
Yeah. Yep. Times 35. She'd go to 58,837.
58.8.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is,
I think I would like to suggest we bump her up before the 2.5. I'd like to see her get to 32.
I wonder if this position might be like a salaried position as opposed to an hourly position.
That's great.
Now, I think one of the criteria is, do you have direct reports, which she has one part-time direct report.
Does the nurse also report to her?
Who?
The town nurse?
No.
I would think they have something.
Well, they talk, but I don't think she bosses the nurse around. In fact, the nurse was taken out of the nurse's office, and that I didn't care for too much. I think the nurse is, she's been put in that craft room somewhere.
But I think she'll be going back now that COVID is over.
I hope so. I mean, now, I think that has to happen.
All right, so,
but
Matt.
if this were justifiable, because it's difficult.
So if she goes to 35 hours, she would be salary.
There are criteria to determine how one is salaried, and I think it's, we could check with learned counsel to see. But, when she has these events that could be in the late afternoon, you might do an event like that, and it's just part of the job.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that job is so erratic.
It's not a standard 9 to 5 job.
No.
Right, and in the evenings, in the summer, I know she has concerts, she has other things that she does that are beyond the scope of a regular day.
Yeah.
So, can we table this and
I'm not recommending, okay. I think so.
And do some more research as what to
I can make a call today and try to get a read from labor attorney.
Okay, that'd be great.
Because I think if we did an enhancement and said it's going to be a salary position, which does not constrain by a definite number of hours, there'd be a target of say 35. You have to work 37 or 40. That's just part of the deal.
Okay. So Matt, do you want to do this? Are we going to do these one at a time? Are we going to do this as a bunch?
I guess if we had the extension, we could come up with a dollar amount. I guess we'd want to make sure that I think the priority might be that we understand that the town, in recognition of the union contracts, the town will be making a one-time wage adjustment for the non-union town employees of 0.25% at the end of the year. And that will take care of that disparity for this year.
Okay.
Then.
Okay, so let's do that. Let's get that up.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay.
Okay.
Did you get all that?
0.25%
to non-union.
Non-union at the end of the year. And that'll just be a credit in your pay stub.
Right.
The second thing would be to take...
Well, we have to vote on that.
Well, let me just map out the future so we make sure. Well, you made a motion, right?
You made a motion. I seconded.
Okay, so MW and MS. Okay, we have, you understand the motion?
Yes.
Yes.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Okay, very good. So the second thing would be to do the extension, but I think we could say that we're going to have, with respect to the ACO, we are using, we didn't change that, it's going to be...
Yes, you did. 2482 times 30. Can I do a motion from my notes? I think I can go over this. Matt, if I'm right, it's going to be animal control would go to 2482 times 30. Assistant senior director would go to 2380.
Times 12.
Yeah, times 12. Michelle Hayes would, office manager, 2850. Michelle Noren, 3225. Amy Jensen to $30 times 35 hours, which is what she does now. Tax clerk would be 2685, and Don Ruddy would be 2850. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to make a motion with the individual positions, hours, and
Rates.
rates. All right. So I would like to make a motion that the animal control officer be paid $24.82 for 30 hours per week. The assistant senior center director, our office manager, would be paid $28.50 for a 30-hour week. Is that correct? 30?
Yep.
Our senior manager administrator would be paid $32.25 for a 30-hour week. Our payroll AP admin would be paid $30 for a 35-hour week. Our tax clerk would be paid $26.85 for a 30-hour week.
Oh, wait, excuse me.
She's 35? 30.
She is part-time, so the hours are a bit I guess we could keep those hours from...
For her hourly rate. I'll put for her hourly rate. And our transfer station...
25, it says in this calendar.
Okay, tax clerk, $26.85 for 25 hours per week. And the transfer station supervisor at $28.50.
And I think he's
per
40.
Week, times 40 hours.
I believe so.
Okay.
For the 22-23 fiscal year.
Yeah, he's 40.
Yes.
Yeah, a one-time adjustment.
One-time adjustment.
Well, it'll just
And then-
it'll be the
and-
rate, and then
And with the given raise for the yearly raise. Of 0.25%.
that'll get them to a certain hourly number, and then once the 2.5
Kicks in.
fiscal 23 general wage increase is overlaid, then it'll change that yet again.
We need a second.
I'll second that. Do we...
Discussion?
Yeah, discussion, I'm sorry. Just
Yes.
look at I think Amy's still a little low.
Okay.
What's that?
I know Michelle Noren's been here a while. Michelle Hayes has been here a while.
Michelle Noren actually has been here probably about 4 years.
She came 2 weeks before the election. 2 years, weeks.
I thought she was longer than 2 weeks.
Bonnie hired her just to work because Kathy Frank retired just before the election.
Okay. Yeah, so she's pretty darn.
And I know Amy's been here 7 years.
So you want to amend them? Want me to amend?
No, it's a discussion.
Okay.
Discussion, that's all. I just...
As you run the numbers.
Yeah, I was just looking at everyone else's numbers in comparison to the other employees that have been here. And what I just said about and I made the motion for the original number. But like I said, I'm the assistant. So I'm not like, I know she has her own title, but, anybody else have I don't have a new number in my head. If you look at like,
Are you focusing on a position?
yeah, just Amy Jensen, payroll, just the one. I feel it might be a little too low.
Well, I don't think you have to build Rome in a day.
No, I know. It's still an increase, which is good, so I guess I'm good. I'm good, but I just want to make sure I didn't miss something.
Because while there are more hours, the 35 is a definite paycheck.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And then...
No, it's like almost a $4,000 raise. That's good.
It's probably, I don't know, maybe if...
And like I said, we're going to agree to look at these again next year.
Yep, nope, that makes sense. Okay, no, we're good. Yeah, where it is.
Maybe we can get an earlier start on it.
Yeah.
Okay?
I'm all set, thank you.
I think we're ready to vote.
Okay, so we're ready. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Okay. And I guess we can, doesn't need to be specifically stated, but once those adjustments occur, then the general wage increase will be overlaid on top of whatever has been done.
Do we need to approve that general wage increase, or has that already been approved by, I know Board of Finance hasn't approved it, but do we need to approve that?
I think we could recommend it to the Board of Finance that it would be...
Over here?
So I'll make a motion to recommend to the Board of Finance a 2.5% raise for non-union employees in Town Hall for the 22-23 fiscal year.
Yeah.
Second.
Okay. All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye.
I think that pretty well covers this.
Yep.
Very good. All right. We'll make a new spreadsheet with a different format. The one that's going to be tough is that one position. I'm not sure the hours for
Which one?
Alex English, you know.
25 according to the sheet.
Yeah, but I think in actuality, we can budget that, but because of her personal situation with kids and stuff, I think it's a variable schedule. I don't think it's a very set one. All right. The next item is the MIRA CWPM.
Did you get it to me this morning?
It was not.
Did you get one, Matt?
I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I do not.
No.
Oh, right.
Do you want me to run it and copy
Okay,
it?
I guess a couple. Would you like one?
I
Make
will.
3 then, I guess. Just take a wee bit of a pause here. Oh, dumb. I guess I do have one. No, this is the old salary thing. I've got too many spreadsheets. I was grinding up a lot of stuff.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
Thank you. As we know, MIRA has expressed its intention to close the facility in the Hartford area, the trash to energy plant, at the by effective July 1st, although there's discussion that might actually operate longer. At which point, when it closes, then the tonnage which flows through that plant will have to be diverted. and likely there'll be a lot of it trucked out of state. So the company has provided us with pricing going forward, and what I tried to do is to indicate that the town has approximately 3,300 tons of municipal solid waste, MSW, which the stated rate would be 111 for this coming fiscal year. They forecast the rate could go up to 124 in fiscal 24, 131 in fiscal 25, and beyond that it would 136 and 141 in the out years. And it may be less than that, but if it goes greater than that, the towns would be able to opt out of the contract with MIRA and go elsewhere. So the remaining towns are being asked to sign up with a provision that waives the opt-out provision. So if the tonnage rates are at or below these trigger points that I mentioned, they would be required to stay in. But as you can see, 111 to 124 is a $13 increase. The 111 was actually going to be 116, but they lowered it to entice towns to stay in. The single stream recycling, which is the next line, MIRA has and will continue to take those materials at no charge. It's obviously baked into the disposal charge above for MSW. So in our case, it would be approximately 4,600 tons with a melded cost of about $79.63. And the Board of Finance approved, I think, this $366,000 number thereabouts in the budget. You can see in the out year that could go up about $50,000 and onward it would go. In addition to the town, we have properties which do not qualify for the residential rate, and that would be condominiums, stores, commercial accounts. So those materials go to Essex and then on up to Hartford, and they enjoy the same rate as the town does. Okay, CWPM approached the town and said, would you consider switching from MIRA to us? They do the hauling of our refuse now, and they took over for Gary Yucknut, who was a beloved character in town, did a wonderful job. And I think most people would agree that CWPM is doing an admirable job at collecting MSW and single stream. They would be in a position to take our tonnage for MSW at $90, and it would increase $1.50 each year for the next 4 years after the initial year. Mm-hmm. However, the single stream would not be free. And so it's a market commodity, number one, and number two, the cleanliness, let's call it, of the recycling material weighs in. And not only cleanliness, like did you wash out the peanut butter in the jar, but do people put into their recycling container their recycling materials in a 13-gallon bag or a big black bag, because that is a real pain. when it comes to sorting this stuff on the other, when it's dumped. So if people were to cooperate and their material was fairly clean and they just put it in the container without any plastic bags, that would benefit us greatly. Because if they see a whole bunch of recycling in plastic bags, the whole thing is rejected and it's dumped as garbage. They just don't have the time to undo bags and do all that stuff. And that means that the originating town will be charged the garbage rate. So using on a scale they had 0 to 5%, 5 to 10%, and on up, depending on the quality of the recycling. He said that Old Lyme is pretty good, and so I plugged in a 7%, I call it contamination rate, which they thought would be about perhaps appropriate. And then, but there still are market factors that could weigh into it too. But for purposes of coming up with some numbers, I use $40 a ton to dispose of the recycling, which is, less than half of the MSW. So it's in our best interest to do as good a job as possible to get that as low as we can. But moving that out across the way, you can see that the melded rate is 75.87, and you compare that to the mirror rate, it's not a whole lot different. And when you compare the CWPM projection of 349,000 versus the 366, it's pretty close. Going out, though, as these rates for mirror increase, that spread becomes wider. Now, what would be good for our commercial non-residential customers, which we don't actually subsidize, they're just coming along for the ride. But you can see that their rate, if it's 1,700 tons of non-contractor MSW, but they would get it at $90. Now that is a pretty good savings, and that becomes significant. If you go out 3 years, it goes from 158,000 to 222. So definitely the non-residential people would benefit, and they are our in-town people, taxpayers, and so forth as well. So on the surface of things, in the early year, it's not much different, but in the out years, it becomes more advantageous using the CWPM. And they would, give us a contract rate. In fact, their disposal agreement, it has written in it, it'd be 90, 91, 50, 93, etc.
Tim, how do you get the melded rate? How do you come up with that melded number, 79.63 and the 7?
Well, I take the 366 and drop it down.
Yeah.
And I take the tonnage of 46 and divide it into 366.
Okay, gotcha. All right, thank you. Now, I know that we listened to that meeting of Mirror, and they talked about how they're subsidizing, for the next 24 million or 20-something million over the next 3 or 4 years or whatever, and how much they would have left in their reserves after. Did CWPM talk about, when you met with them, did they talk about any subsidizing with other businesses they're involved with to keep this rate so low, like, that you're aware of?
Well, they apparently would have a relationship with Preston and, is it Seymour? But the two Trust Energy plants to our east. So our trucks, instead of going up Route 9 to Exit 4, would go to New London and under the bridge to their facility there. And then they would transport from there to the trash to
But
energy.
no extra charges for not going from Essex to, so no extra, that's all included in this, there's no other extra,
No,
that includes,
I think it would be slightly longer maybe to go to New London, but
yeah,
not a
right,
tremendous
gas and stuff.
And these guys have been around. This is not a new company,
Right.
and the Manafort people have been involved in this. They've been, I think we're coming into the fourth year of a 4-year contract with the household pickup and recycling. So I think we have comfort that they've performed well, and I think when they started, they bought all new equipment for us.
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty good. So it seems that, if I'm concerned that as I think the reserves are something like $42 million at Mira.
Yeah.
And in year one, it would be 11.6, and actually, by cutting the rate from 116 to 111, that could be another $1.5 million. So it could be 12.5, 13 million out of the reserve just in the first year, and then going across, it's 3.7, 3.3, 2.6, etc.
Right.
So I think they would wind up with something like, they say 15 million in the reserves. But the future's very unclear as to how this is all going to work, because I don't know what post-closure, if they shut the plant, what do you do next?
Right.
You have to demolish. So, it's pretty clear that the DEP has not and will not provide for a new trash-to-energy plant in Connecticut to really do a big job on our solid waste. So, if Mira has to export, they're counting on, they would like to see 80% of the existing tonnage stay with the program so that they can have the staff and the trucking and all that lined up to move forward. It's not clear how many towns will remain in Mira's fold.
Which could also change rates.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
fewer people.
That's correct.
Does
So
CWPM have any requirements for how many towns they have to sign to guarantee this rate, or that it is what it is?
yeah.
You get that impression?
I think they went out.
Yeah, I think what they're saying is that they have commitments with the trash to energy, 3,300 tons when you're talking volumes that they're dealing with is probably not a big deal. But so our trucks would leave Olan, go to New London, and come back, maybe a little longer, but they would do the whole thing. And so we would want to do our due diligence on CWPM as much as possible. If we were to stay with Mira in the first year, that would not be a big dollar difference, really. However, if as we got further into it and their problems became more acute, it might not be so easy to find an alternative 2 or 3 years down the road if things really got bad.
So you are suggesting that we discontinue our contract with Mira and move into a contract with CWPM?
I have regrets because I used to be on their board and everything, and I respect the people there, but I think the situation's pretty untenable, and I think we have to do what's best for Old Lyme. And I've got a list of communities that apparently, according to CWPM, may be departing, and they're not exactly small users. So I think if we can make a solid deal at a favorable pricing, it would be in our best interest to do so.
I agree.
Oh, you might want to show that tomorrow too.
Now, Mira is offering towns to keep the opt-out at the $116 price, but there's no, it's going the wrong direction vis-a-vis our $90 one rate. The decision to stay or leave has been extended, I believe, from the 28th to something like the 8th or something of April, I think, for Mira. But I don't know that there's going to be anything different.
So do you want to hold off on this until our April meeting, or would you like a motion today?
I think we ought to make the motion today, just because if we meet on the 7th and we got to notify them on the 8th and stuff, it's a little tight.
I'll make a motion to authorize the first selectman to sign into a contract based on the analysis with CWPM for our future solid waste and recycling services for the next 4 years. Contract?
It's a 5-year deal.
5-year contract?
I'll second.
Any other discussion?
No, the only thing I would say is, as a former teacher, I think we really need to go back into some type of re-education of our town, though, on how dirty single-stream recycling can harm us as far as our weight rate.
Yeah. Right.
And I think we need to, I'm sure that CWPM has some type of educational material, and I think we need to figure out how we can get it out to our public, maybe including it in our tax bills.
Yeah.
It would be a great way because we're going to mail anyways.
Right. I think we brought up that recycling committee too.
Yeah,
so
well,
we can
Suzanne Thompson and again,
Right.
our meeting,
We need to get,
I agree.
but
the
yeah,
sustainability
It
recycling.
affects us all in the end, so.
it does. And I know that one of the things they're doing is talking about, composting and the ways that we can help with some of the food scraps. We can't do meats, but we can do other things and what we can do.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Anything else?
Nope.
No.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay.
I have a question before we begin on this next topic.
Yep.
We voted on the CSD group back in January 18th.
To engage them?
Yeah, we said that our proposal was to review the request and the proposed budget, and I made a motion, Matt seconded it, to recommend the $45,000 appropriation request to the Board of Finance with the following cost breakdown, and we did the 13.5, the 7, the 10, and the 9, and then there was a contingency fund. So
Right.
we're doing today, I think you upped it to 50 at the town meeting?
No,
Was it
45.
45? Then I'm not sure we have to do this because we'd kind of be out of order. We've done it once.
Well, I think this was to approve him actually signing the contracts now.
These are specific proposals. Now,
I
normally,
don't know if that's accurate or not. I was just.
well, just to
Okay.
back up, when we were doing Soundview sidewalks, as BSC would come up with a proposal, because these are not those amounts.
Right, I
These
noticed
amounts
that.
are slightly less because if you read them, it says certain things are not included. So, for instance, on the land surveying, the fee is $4,500, but it says the following services are not included as part of our scope: title search, resolution of property line discrepancies, things like that. So I think when we look at the town meeting approval, these they're not for the exact amounts that were detailed in that. So
Okay.
it's more of a detail, I guess, but it's just to say that absent a committee making a recommendation to me, telling me to go ahead and sign it, and then we'll get invoices down the stream. I guess we just say we're going to enter into these 3 agreements with BSC, and we can probably do them all at one time, and
Okay, so because...
under the umbrella of what the town meeting approval was.
Right. So since we just got these, is there anything specific on any of these that you think we should be putting our eyes to?
I think that, as I mentioned, the amounts are lower than the amounts that were detailed in the town meeting, and I think between what these are for and the amounts that were identified, there's room there, and we have $5,500 of contingency in addition to that.
Okay.
So I think we could say that, for instance, let's look at the first one. It's the lot SIP application assistance.
That's
and
the
it's,
September 13th letter.
Yep, and it's $9,500 task number 1. There is an anticipated task number 2, which will likely be between $3,000 and $4,000, but they're not asking for that at this time, so that'll be a subsequent event. And so
just so you know, in January we said 13.5, so that would, if it was 9.5 to 4, it would be the 13.5.
Yeah, 3 to 4 would consume
So it stays
that.
within that line.
Yeah.
Okay, and the second one?
And then the second one is conveying for the 2 trails, access to the proposed Bow Bridge and the Florence Glizzle Trail. That is $4,500. Isn't it $7,000 in the authorization?
Yes, 7,000.
But there are a number of things that are not included in this proposal. We'd still have
Money.
$2,500 left on that. It says, in addition, the $4,500 is a lump fee for labor. In addition to the lump fee for labor, direct expenses such as mileage, printing, postage, shipping, rubber graphics, expendables will be billed to the client with a 10% admin fee.
So that's probably how we get to the 7,000.
Yeah. And then the last item is actually the zone overlay and for the attorney.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is for BSC alone, $9,000. It's not to exceed $9,000 for their help with the zoning overlay work. We know that there is the attorney who has a budget of $10,000, Attorney Sweeney.
Yep.
But that's not part of BSC.
Okay. So you need a motion.
I'd say we could just authorize the first selectman to execute the 3 agreements for BSC, which have different dates, but for work under the town authorization of $45,000.
Okay.
No, I can do it, that's fine.
No,
You want to do it?
Whatever.
That makes sense? So make a motion to authorize the first selectman to sign into 3 separate contracts with the BSC group for the Halls Road Improvement Project. The proposal date is September 13th, 2021, October 7th, 2021, and November 30th, 2021, not to exceed the amount previously approved by the selectmen of $45,000.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded to do the 3 agreements. Any discussion on them? All in favor?
Aye.
Very well. Well, I believe that covers the agenda.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Is 11:31. Very good. We stand adjourned.